You wrote this book in 2014. Let's talk about why you wrote it and how you think your prognostications have fared in what's almost an intervening decade.
Well, I think one thing that's relevant, I'm not sure if you know this, but there's a new book, 2022, called Fossil Future, which is the successor or replacement to the moral case for fossil fuels. So I talk a bunch in that about how the moral case for fossil fuels has fared. And I think in terms of a predictive book, it's not primarily a predictive book, but it has been extremely accurate. Because if you look at what people have said in the last 8 or so years, the main narratives have been, we're not going to need fossil fuels as much as we used to. They're going to be rapidly replaced by solar and wind primarily. And that the climate impact of fossil fuels is going to be increasingly catastrophic. So we're going to see more and more suffering and death from climate-related disasters. And in the book, I talk about that's not going to happen because, one, fossil fuels will remain uniquely cost-effective, particularly in a world that needs far more energy, which is something that was not stressed in the past and is not stressed enough today. But people are starting to realize most of the world doesn't have enough energy. So replacing fossil fuels is almost impossible, given that you're not talking about just replacing it for the people who use it, but for the people who need it. So I've been very vindicated on the continuing cost-effectiveness of fossil fuels. And then on the climate disaster point, we have documented that climate-related disaster deaths are down 98% in the last 100 years, and they've continued to decline. And the basic reason is because whatever impact we have on climate that is negative, it is far outweighed by our ability to master climate, to neutralize all sorts of climate dangers. And so we're much better off overall climate-wise than we were 50 years ago and certainly 100 years ago.